And I am writing a book called, the working title is The Adventures of Johnny Campbell Upon the High Seas. Now, this is based on a true story that takes place aboard the Euterpe. Now, the Euterpe was the original name of the Star of India, which is in our own maritime museum. Now, if you go there, you know that in the 1870s and 1880s, she was an immigrant vessel, and she took immigrants from London around to the other side of the world to Wellington, New Zealand. Hundreds of immigrants at a time. And on one of those voyages in 1885, there were two lads who stowed away, Johnny Campbell and Simon Sparrow. And they weren't discovered until 3 days into the voyage. And then, once they were discovered, the captain decided to put them into service, and they were to work off their passage. And so this is their first day on the job, and it's called Sailor's Hands. Set the staysail. We need to manoeuvre, furl the jibs. Ready on the boatswain's chair, heave! The lads growing up in the workhouse, they thought they knew what hard work was, but never had they worked like this. And their hands were constantly busy hauling different lines. Now the lines were made of rough hemp rope, and it rather stung, it was very rough. And there were hundreds of lines all over the ship, and each line had a particular purpose and a particular name, and how were they ever to remember them all? But they just followed the other sailors as they went to each line, and they hauled away, and it stung their hands, and they could feel the blisters rising on their hands just below the fingers. But they dared not grumble, and the other sailors weren't grumbling, and so they dared not. Now, when they were first discovered, the captain had told them that if they didn't work hard, he was going to heave them overboard and feed them to the sharks. Was he serious? I mean, he seemed a kind enough man, stern but fair. They weren't about to find out the hard way. And so they felt the blisters rise on their hands, but still they carried on working, hauling on the lines and didn't grumble. And they felt the blisters pop, and they winced each time. Well, after quite a bit of this, they sat down and they looked at their hands, and there were these dark pink and purple, there's circles on their hands, and were little bits of skin hanging off, and they could hardly stand to touch anything. And they looked at each other, and Simon said, "We need to see the doctor." So they got up and they went aft toward the captain's saloon where the doctor kept his office. "Where do you think you're going?" It was the voice of Mr. Mac, the first mate, and as they looked at the deck, they saw that his shadow dwarfed the two of theirs. And they turned, and Johnny said, "We need to see the doctor." "What for? Are you sick?" And they held up their hands to show him. Mr. Mac looked down and he considered their hands a moment. "You don't need no doctor. Go to the galley house and see Cookie." Cookie? Now why would they need to see the cook? But the glance was all that it took for them to know that Mr. Mac's orders were not to be questioned. So they turned round and they went to the galley house. Now, Cookie had a pot of stew on the stove and loaves of bread in the ovens, and he had just sat down to one of his few restful moments for a cup of tea, and he closed his eyes and he savored the smell of cinnamon as it reached his nostrils. And then he heard him knock on the galley house. "Cookie, dinner's not for an hour. Come back later." "No, Mr. Mac sent this to you." "Why would Mr. Mac send it to me?" And he showed him their hands. Right. And without another word, he went to the pantry and he fetched a pail and a basin, and he took the pail and he tied it to the end of a rope, and he lowered the pail down into the water, filled it with seawater, holding back up, careful to spill as little of the water as he could. And then he took a basin and he filled it with rock salt. Now clearly he knew the drill. And as he was doing this, sailors started to gather round to watch. And as the sailors stopped to watch, other passengers started to gather round. And the sailors looked at each other with little nods and winks and little elbows. "What's going on?" Simon asked Johnny. And Johnny looked at their faces. They seem to know something we don't. Well, Cookie took the rock salt, put it into the basin, and he took the seawater and he added it to the basin, and he stirred it with his hands, all the while humming one of his African songs. And then he said, wait here. And he went back into the galley, and he came back a moment later with 2 wooden spoons, wrapped in clean rags. Put these in your mouths. Well, they looked at each other and then did his bidding, and they put the spoons in their mouths. And he came back a moment later with a pitcher of sweet water. And then, just as they were wondering what he was doing, Cookie grabbed Johnny's hands and he plunged them into the brine. Oh, the seawater stung. It felt like handling hot, smoking coals. And he screamed, and it muffled he had the spoon in his mouth, and it muffled his screams, but his face turned red, and the tears streamed down his cheeks, and all he could do was, just through his nostrils flare, and all he could do was get enough air for the next scream. Well, the whole ordeal lasted maybe 30 seconds, but they were the longest 30 seconds of Johnny's life at that moment. And his breath was panting as he looked at his hands, and then Cookie poured the cool water over his hands. Oh, his hands were throbbing, but the cool water helped. And Cookie said, there, that wasn't so bad now, was it? And Johnny just responded with a look that said, oh, you daft! Well, Simon was going like none of it, with the spoon still in his mouth. He got up and he backed away with his head shaking. He was not going to have any of it until he backed into a sailor behind him. And that man, grabbed his arms and thrust them forward. And he squirmed. And the sailor was Mr. Delaney, the second mate. And he said, you have to go through with it, lad. You need a set to toughen up your hands or you're no use to me. And then Cookie took Simon's hands, and he looked at him. His grip was firm, but his voice was gentle. And he said, he's right, lad. If you're going to do the work, you need a sailor's hands. Simon stopped resisting, and he allowed his own hands to be plunged into the brine. And he squirmed, and he kicked, and he cried. And then his hands came out, and Cookie poured the cool water over them. And he said, go to the forecastle and rest. Your hands will feel better on the morrow. And so they went. And they went to the forecastle and they rested. And Cookie was right. In the morning, they examined their hands. And their hands were tough and coarse, like old leather. These weren't the hands of greenhorn lads anymore. Oh no, these were sailors' hands. Thank you. That was called The Sailor's Hands, and it's from a